Welcome to the Pretty Confident Podcast, where we embrace authenticity, own our worth, and build unshakable confidence. I'm your host, Sierra Renee, so let's dive in. What's up, you guys, and welcome back to another week of the Pretty Confident Podcast. How are you all doing? How is your day going? How is your week going? How is your month going? You guys know I always have to lead off with that. Just getting the vibes, getting the feels in the room, even though it's just me in the room talking to my camera and you guys are just listening to wherever you're listening to this on or somewhere. And if you're watching this, hey, what's up, girl? What's up, boy? How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the visual. You guys, I need to grow my audience. Grow. I have been stuck at 19 subscribers on YouTube for the past couple months, and I really believe it is my fault, okay? I could be doing more advertisement, but you guys know, hold on, because baby girl is moving up to the top. Do y'all want to see my belly? Is that too much? Because she's at the top. She's like towards my ribs. Hold on. If you're watching this, you get a little glimpse of the belly. This is me, 8 months pregnant. Okay, if you're listening to this on any of the audio platforms, I hate that you're missing this moment me and my visual listeners are having right now. So she is currently like up here in this area. I never feel her when she's on the front because my placenta is on the front, but she's typically like always somewhere in here, and I am out of breath. Anyway, let me sip some of my water. But yes. How are you guys doing? I am, at the time I'm recording this, I am 33 weeks and 5 days, okay? 33 weeks and 5 days. We are almost at 9 months, and I just cannot believe it because I feel like this pregnancy has gone fast, and it may just be because of all of the things that we did since finding out I was pregnant, since we were expecting, my husband and I. As soon as we found out, we started house searching, okay? Because I was like, I don't want to raise my baby girl in an apartment. Not saying that there's anything wrong with it. We all have different preferences, okay? So don't try to drag me. Please don't try to drag me, especially if you're new here. Please do not cut this podcast off because you're like, oh, she looks down upon people that raise their children in apartments. No, I'm just saying that wasn't going to work for me because we were on the 3rd floor. No, like backside of an apartment, no elevator, no room in the apartment, just a 2-bedroom, which some people can make work. But I just felt like with me, my husband's life and how we operate, a 2-bedroom apartment and a baby and 2 dogs was not going to work. Cramped. Okay. I can already feel the claustrophobia I would feel or have. But yeah, so it just wasn't going to work for me, especially the no elevator part, and being on the 3rd floor and having to walk the steps. And then with me and my pregnancy, I work from home majority of the week. So having to walk up and down those steps multiple times a day with walking the dogs was not going to work. Okay. Cause in the morning, in the afternoon, after I get off, right before their daddy got home, that's 4 times I'm having to go up 3 flights of steps. Not even 4. Let's do what? 4? No, 2 for each time I have to go up. So that's 8 times I'm going up and then down. Or no, down and then up. So down 1 time to walk them outside, then right back up when coming inside. 4 times a day. And just me and how everything is set up. Even when we were moving, going up and down those steps was very difficult. Like I felt like some days I just could not walk anymore. And my man was like, baby, we're almost there. We got to make it all the way up. And I was just like, shoot, just bring me a pillow and a blanket and I'll sleep on this concrete step. Okay. So definitely not, the best option that I wanted or the option that I wanted for me and my family. And my husband and I already wanted a house anyway. I was just so scared of pulling the trigger. And so really she made me come out of my comfort zone for real, because honestly, that was one that I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just so scared, so scared, so scared to do. And as soon as I found out I was having a baby, boom, house within 36 days, okay, of finding out I was pregnant. Found out August 31st. Is that the last day of August, or August 30th or August 31st? Found out I was expecting. And then we closed on our house. Let me see. Oh no, not 36 days. We closed on our house October 28th. So, give or take a little over 30 days or whatever. But we closed on a house. Like once we found a house, we closed on the house 30 days from finding it. So, super blessed. Super appreciative, super grateful. And yeah, so, I'm 33 weeks and what did I say? 5 days. And by the time this comes out, I'll definitely be 9 months. Hopefully I'm not giving birth by the time this comes out, because I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. I don't know when she's going to come. And I know some people are like, yeah, I have a tendency of having my babies before my due date, yada, 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 without being induced or anything, of course. But I don't know. I don't know a trend for me and my body and my babies, because this is my first one. So I'm very scared. I'm very nervous. I'm very curious if she's going to try to come, like a whole month before her due date, or if she's going to come right at her due date or around her due date. Like I'll be perfectly fine if she comes around her due date, because I'm prepared for her to come around that time. But I'm just like, if you come like a month before, honey, you just couldn't wait to meet the outside world. Hello. How are you? Thank you for gracing us with your presence so freaking early. But her birthday is on Cinco de Mayo. At first, I didn't want her to come on her birthday. On her due date. I'm like, if you have to come on any day but May 5th, because my parents' anniversary is that day. And my mother is crazy about this one. I don't know why, but she's crazy about this one. And ooh, girl, go back down. She's kicking me in my ribs right now. But yeah, she's going crazy about this one. And if her birthday lands on their anniversary day, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do. But anyway, I was like, regardless of if her birthday is Cinco de Mayo or not, we're going to be out of the country every single year for her birthday starting at 1 year old. Okay, not to mention that she's going to be out of the country by the time she's 6 months old, but we going to be out the country every year for her birthday. I personally do not care for birthday parties. I'm not about to put together a function for everybody to come to one place, for me to pay for everything and all of that, for everybody else to eat just for her birthday. So yeah, and then everybody that I would invite is just my family. So I'm just like, why would I do that? We're going to be out the country so all of us can have some fun, and you can you can just enjoy life and be flown out at a very young age. 6 months is crazy. Like, I don't know any baby that's been flown out since 6 months. But mine is going to be the first one I know. And she's going to have a spoiled little life. I love that for her. But yeah, so yeah, what was I even talking about? Pregnancy brain. I just feel like I was just talking, and then we veered off onto a different path. Anyway, let me tell you guys. Get it together. Let me tell you guys about my newfound passion, car detailing. Okay, and let's be more specific. Not to go into business to detail other people's cars. Me detailing my own car. Okay, there's a lot of soft girls out there that's like, oh no, I would never detail my own car. I got a man for that. Let your man, aren't you married? Why aren't you man doing that? I have been watching and binge watching auto detailing videos, and I want to do that for myself. It looks so fun. I already like cleaning, and then me cleaning my wheels would just be so much more fun. Now, if my husband wants to do it, perfectly fine, but I feel like that is going to be like a hobby of mine that I do almost like every other weekend, at least every week, wash my car, like hand wash my car outside. And then like maybe every other week, depending on how much it needs it, once of course Kalia gets here, deep cleaning, like vacuuming, wiping everything down. So I got me a whole kit. Okay. I got me some spray bottles. Now, the only thing that we don't have is like a water hose, the soap to do the outside, all of the things. I haven't researched that thoroughly just yet because I'm like, I know that's not what I'm going to do right now. I just want to focus on the inside because that is something that I can do. But we also have a car wash membership. So I was like, I'll just run it through the car wash, vacuum whatever I vacuum, because I don't have a shock vac yet that does like wet and dry vacuuming. So definitely need to get that as well. But yeah, I was like, since we have a car wash membership, I just want to focus on cleaning the interior, because the exterior right now, a machine can do until I get all of the things that I need for the exterior and the tires and things like that. So I'm just like, let me figure out everything that I need to make my, ride look good, smell good, look super clean, because I'm already somebody that loves to keep everything clean. You know how they say like girls keep their room clean and keep their car dirty, and then boys keep their car clean and their rooms dirty? No, my husband keeps his car dirty and anywhere in his area dirty until he deems it fit to go ahead and start cleaning. Me, I keep everything clean, my car and the house, like anything, my area needs to be clean. And if I need to stress clean, I stress clean. Then I just go a little bit deeper, other than just like, oh, this belongs here, this belongs here. No, now it's time to deep clean. We need to vacuum, we need to mop, we need to do all of this. I already do that once a week, but sometimes I may do it like earlier in the week, depending on how my mental is. And I feel like some people, if they're mentally drained or mentally like all over the place, that I heard that cleaning helps because it's a way of like trying to organize your space, which help you organize your mind. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, I think that's what I've been doing sometimes. Like if I feel like my mental space is like all over the place and I clean, I feel like a lot more clarity and a little bit better. So I don't know. Do you guys feel like that? If you are somebody that cleans when you're like, when you have so much going on in your mind, you clean, and does that, like, do you feel different when you get done cleaning? Like, I don't know. I think I've seen that posted somewhere. Anyway, but yes. Let's go ahead and hop into today's episode, because if you can't tell by the title of this episode, baby, we got some things to talk about. All right. And we got some things to sort out. Okay. And we got some people to forgive. Maybe not, depending on your situation. All right. Every situation is different. So is mine. So yeah. Surviving the in-laws. That's sister-in-law, brother-in-law, mother-in-law, father-in-law, all of the laws, in-laws. Whether you're dating and, you're trying to survive his family or her family, whether you're married and you guys just cannot get along. I don't know. All I'm going to talk to is my experience. And I feel like depending on the situation, most of the time you're able to come back. No, never mind. I'm not going to say most of the time. Sometimes you may not be able to come back. Most of the time you may not be able to come back. Sometimes you may be able to come back depending on what the situation is. So I'll just talk to my situation. Like, this is not me talking on anybody else or bashing anybody, but me and my husband, me and my man, we've been together for, this year will be 4 years. We met on a cruise. We started dating. We didn't think anything was going to be like turned this serious out of, our situation, just because of how we met. And it was like, this would be crazy if this went all the way, right? And sure enough, it has went all the way, and we're about to welcome a child into this world. Like, what? Somebody pinch me right now, because this cannot be real life, but it is, and I love that for me. Now, I'm trying to stay hydrated. It's hot outside. The weather has been crazy. Okay, let me just say that. But anyway, let me keep on talking before I get off topic, and then I'm veering all over the place with my pregnancy brain, and I'm like, oh, what was I even talking about? But anyway, surviving the in-laws, whether you're dating, just got together, still together, or no, just got together, been bad, like getting off on the bad foot, all of the things. So for me in my situation, the reason why I say, you may be able to forgive and move on is with my situation, I feel like it wasn't as dramatic or dire to where it's like, oh no, they completely crossed the boundary and I'm just not gonna, like I just don't fuck with them, and they'll never be on my good side and things of that nature, right? So I know with Black people in particular, it is kind of hard when it comes to joining two families together, and then, feeling disrespected in even the slightest way. It may be very difficult to move past and forgive somebody. But one, I do want to say, I do have a past episode, is very early on the platform, about forgiving people, not for their sake, but for yours. I feel like when you let that animosity go, when you forgive people for your sake, you are letting the burden of having animosity and holding anger towards somebody. And so that alleviates pressure, tension, a weight off of you. And it's not at any point in time supposed to be for the other person. So that's one thing. I always want you to put yourself first when it comes to forgiving people. Do you feel like you can forgive them to, get that burden off of you, to feel lighter, and move past them? Now, one thing I did hear and I completely agree with, and I've said this before, is forgiveness does not mean access. Just because you forgive somebody does not mean that you have to allow them access to you in the same capacity that they may have had before before the situation happened. And I am a complete fan of this. I know I've talked about it on a previous episode when I talked about, me and my used to be best friend kind of had a falling out just because of some things that she had did regarding my pregnancy and things like that. And so, I forgave her. We talked about it, but I did, let her know that when I don't tell you certain things, and if you're not privy to information, this is why. So you are no longer going to have the same access you did before this situation happened because of the way this played out. Now, if you determine, or if you decide to give the same person access that they had to you or about you before, that's perfectly that's perfectly fine. That's you and your discretion. But please keep in mind that if you allow them the same type of access without any restriction, then the same thing is more than likely to happen again. So like I said, it's totally case by case issue or case by case point. But for me, that is not the case for that was not the case for, the situation I'm going to discuss. So like I say, yes, forgiveness, you can forgive them for you, and forgiveness does not mean access. So if you decide to forgive somebody, keep boundaries. You can either let those boundaries be known, or you can just revoke certain accesses when you feel applicable, whatever. But anyway, me and my husband's family, kind of had I'm not going to say a disagreement or an argument or anything like that. It was nothing like that. It was just like a difference in opinions on how to go about a situation. And I did not completely appreciate or understand where the request was coming from. And so one thing about me and my relationship is I have always put my partner is always going to be put first whenever something else comes to, I don't want to say against him or come for him or anything like that. But when something comes up to where it's supposed to be a benefit for my husband, if I don't know much about the situation, I'm going to do a little, digging. I'm not going to, spoil the whole thing on if this is something that would truly be great for him. I'm not going to spoil it in that way, but I'm going to ask some questions to figure out what is the temperature regarding this topic. And so what I mean by that is, it was very early on in he and I's relationship, and he had just moved in with me back in 2023, where we were dating for a little over, no, we weren't even dating a full year before he moved in. But anyway, when he moved in, the dynamic has changed. We went from long distance and seeing each other every 3 or so months to now we're seeing each other all the time. And, I met your mom over the phone because, they're all over in the islands and things like that. And so I don't know a lot about his family dynamic other than what he's already told me, due to us, one, being long distance, and two, like all of his family being in the island. So there's not much that I can gather by myself and witness by myself without him giving me the information. So then it got to a point where, after I met his mom and everything, a couple weeks, months or so later, his mom had reached out to me on Instagram, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind. And she kind of just said, don't tell him, but I really want, help figuring out. Oh no, we weren't. He was not moved in. We were still long distance. He was at a training camp for the military in California. So we were not moved in at all. He's away. I'm barely already talking to him because he's away at training camp in Cali. So the time difference is crazy, and I'm on a different time zone than he is, and I have to work. He's doing, military stuff. So we were barely being able to talk anyway. And so when she had reached out to me, she was like, hey, I want, some help getting him to meet his granddad, yada, yada, yada. And so something like sparked out to me, because when she said, don't tell him about this, that just raises a red flag to me, because to me, this is my husband. This is me and his relationship, or at the time, me and my boyfriend. This is me and my boyfriend's relationship. I don't know her as well. And from the dynamic of he and her relationship, I already got that it wasn't as great. So I'm going to perceive everything with caution as far as a request. And then when you tell me don't tell somebody something, is it in their best interest? So when I finally got to talk to him, we were talking. And, like I said, if it's in his best interest, I don't want to, ruin a surprise. So I did ask in a very calm and I don't want to say no. Anyway, I was very intentional when I asked, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, can you tell me what because your mom No, I was just like, hey, do you know your grandfather, and do you have a relationship with him? Because he's never talked about him before. So before I'm like, oh yeah, let me help you set up a surprise visit for him. Woo. I'm going to gather information before I do something that could also jeopardize me and his relationship, because at the end of the day, it's me and him. And basically at the end of the day, he told me, no, I don't know that man. I've never met him a day in my life. And he, did some things that I cannot forgive him for, even if I did know him. So I was like, oh, definitely not going down that path. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then when he did ask, why you ask that? I told him, I said, well, your mom wants to, do a surprise visit, and I just didn't know, you never talked about him before. So I just wanted to see what the temperature was regarding that topic, because I don't want to go outside. I don't want to disrespect you or go behind your back and set something up and you don't even know the man or respect the man as a, grandfather figure if he did something dirty to you or your family. And so since that was the case, I'm glad that I asked, because if I would have went on this extravaganza journey of trying to plan a surprise visit, it wouldn't have went well. And then our relationship probably wouldn't have went well afterwards. So yeah, or it could have gone well and I would have learned a very valuable lesson depending on how he saw things from his perspective. I don't know the full story, so I'm not going to get involved. So, I kind of politely told her that, I don't feel comfortable, not telling him things that involve him and relationships with his family, just based on the lack of information that I do have. I don't think this is the best way to go about things. He's also out of the state, so there's no way that I can help coordinate something in my state or in the state that he's stationed in, etc., etc., etc. I don't know when he's coming back from California. So things got taken completely out of context. And she kind of went on about, oh, I don't know how I became, I don't know, what did she say, like a monster or something? And it just went completely downhill. I'm not going to spill the whole beans because, we're past this and we all have a great relationship now. But I was like, I'm just really trying to be polite. I'm really trying to understand boundaries and respect all boundaries. And this is just not one that I'm willing to cross. So I do apologize. So, I'm saying all of this, not trying to make her feel bad about anything, but I'm in a relationship with your son, not you, and not to please you. And so if this is something that could potentially upset him, I'm not going to do it, especially when I don't know the man. He doesn't know the man. And this is not something that he genuinely longs for. So yeah, so that was kind of like where I left things at. I asked him if he wanted to read the messages and see, what was said and how things were said, just to give him full transparency to the situation. He told me no. So that's what it was. So then maybe like the following week, or maybe not even week later, maybe like the following weekdays, because I feel like this happened on a weekend. They called, his mom and his sister called him, kind of going off about like, oh, who does your sister think, who does your girlfriend think she is, talking about this way, yada, 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 yada. And so, yeah, then he asked me for the messages and I sent him the messages. I was like, hey, I have nothing to hide from you. This is what was said. This is how I, tried to phrase it. I did not try to seem rude or, higher than thou in any way, sense, or form, matter. And so, we kind of handled it and he squashed it. He was like, these are the most respectful messages I've ever read in my life. Yada, yada, yada. And he took up for me. Cool. So with all of that happening, clearly there was some animosity there. I was like, well, I don't know how to move forward when your family is thinking that I'm disrespecting them. The women in your family think I'm disrespecting them, and I'm truly not. I just stated that there were boundaries I'm not willing to cross and people that I'm not going to help you introduce to him if he's never met them a day in his life. So obviously that, sparked some animosity there. They went a little bit of time with no content, no context, no contact. Yeah, no contact. Sorry. And so, yeah, like I've kind of felt bad, but at the end of the day, I felt like I handled my situation and what was said perfectly fine and how I should have. And I didn't feel like there was any way for me to go back and like either soothe it over, more smoothly or anything like that. And so, I don't know how much more time has passed, and then they finally started conversating again, and she did apologize. So I did appreciate that. The sister did apologize as well. And so one thing with me is, like I said, forgiveness can be for you, and not necessarily for the other person. So, for the sake of his relationship with his family and my relationship with him and his family, I really feel like if you prioritize and if you have a moral of, family matters and wanting, I don't want to say getting approval from one's family, but at least having a good relationship with the other person's family, because I feel like in a past relationship that I had when I was back in high school, yes, it was super young, but it built the foundation for me that I want my partner to get along with my family and I want to be able to get along with my partner's family. And so with my family not liking my partner back when I was in high school and vice versa, it put a lot of strain in our relationship just because, one, we were children trying to, date and have like a actual relationship outside of everybody else's feelings and whatever attitudes towards each other, and just feeling the emotional strain that it was putting on us individually as well as the relationship. I didn't want that for, me at my big age, this to be my relationship now. So after they apologized, I completely, accepted their apology. Not for the benefit of just our relationship, but for me as well, because I felt like I was so tense whenever they would call him, because I'm like, oh, let me shut up and hold my breath and not breathe, so nothing pops off and nothing, feels weird or this and a third, because that is still his family. But, I've talked to both of them. They apologized and we're all on great terms. Now, I say this to say that that was able to be mitigated based on my maturity levels and other people's maturity levels to apologize, because I feel like majority of the time, if you get into something like that with your partner's family, some people can be very entitled and sometimes they won't even apologize to rectify the relationship or try to even mend what happened. So they apologized. I appreciate that. And I feel like that's always going to be the first step in accepting, not one, accepting somebody's apology, and two, forgiveness, because you can accept somebody's apology and not forgive them, and you can forgive them and not really accept their apology. But you can also forgive somebody and they haven't offered an apology at all, so you're just forgiving them out of the sake of your heart, your goodness, and you trying to move on with no ties to anything or anybody. I am so sorry if y'all hear these badass kids. You know what? I am going to say this because I can't say it outside. They tick me off being in my backyard and shooting whatever the heck, these Nerf guns or whatever that they be shooting, and playing in people's yards and playing on people's front porches. Y'all need to understand that you need to teach your children how to stay out of people's property. That is one thing that I cannot stand. Unless you are playing with my child, you should not be on my property. I don't care if I have a fence or not. Me and my husband talked about this because we keep going back and forth on, oh, he cares about if somebody is parked in front of our house, but he doesn't care when there's kids playing in our backyard. I care about the property that I own. I don't care about the road, because at the end of the day, anybody can drive. We don't own the road at the end of the day. Yes, I care about people being parked in front of our house too, but at the end of the day, I don't own the road. So I can't dictate who parks where and, mitigate who parks there and when. So that I cannot control. But what people can control is their kids going in the back of people's yards, because there's a Nerf gun shooty thingy in my backyard. Now, if I was riding a riding lawnmower and went up there and rode over that, and now my riding lawnmower is messed up, I'm going to go find them parents to figure out who's going to pay for my riding lawnmower to be replaced or repaired. That is what ticks me off. But they are so freaking bad. I feel like these people do not teach their children to stay within their means. We have a whole playground in front of our house. Why are we not playing on that? Why are we not playing in the dead space in front of that like up at the top of that playground where you could be hiding behind trees or the mailboxes or stuff like that, but you want to be on people's porches? No, that's not going to work for me. You want to be in between people's houses. Anyway, thank you for letting me get that off my chest. But anyway, yeah, I say all that to say you can forgive people for your sake. You can forgive people and accept their apology. Or if they don't even offer you an apology, you can forgive them just for the sake of your sanity. Because I feel like walking around with animosity, walking around with, just all this hatred or just anger in your heart and in your body about something or towards something, that's going to reflect elsewhere, regardless if that's, at a later date or whether it's, in the same capacity with the same people. I don't know. But anyway, I say that I forgave them because one, they were mature enough to apologize. Most in-laws are not. They feel like, oh, well, if this person does this or said this, or I don't feel like they respected me in this way, I'm not going to apologize. That is something that I truly, was not expecting from them, for them to apologize. But when they did, I was like, snap, that is like very, like, that's, nice of them to apologize, to acknowledge that maybe they overreacted, and here we are, your son doesn't have a good relationship or a standing relationship with you because of the situation that transpired between you and I. And so regardless if they apologize to truly apologize to me or apologize to me to, get a little bit closer to him and mend the relationship with him, either way that benefits us in our relationship. So I accepted it. And now I say all of this to say, like, surviving the in-laws, I have a okay relationship with the mom. Like, I don't talk to her all the time, and he doesn't talk to her all the time. The only time I'm going to talk to her is if he's on the phone with her. And then he's more on the phone with his sister nowadays. And so we kind of have our own relationship. She's super cool. We talk without him being close and near to the phone. He'll leave the room if we're talking, just all of the things like that. She seems to always want to be super positive, and I'm like, I love that about her. And one thing she said to me that made me realize, like, oh my goodness, this baby girl is changing everybody's life, is that she was like, well, you guys are having this baby, and that just makes me want to, that just made me look at my life differently. It makes me want to get my life together, this and that. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, get your life together. What do you mean? She was like, I want to be able to come and visit when I want to, not just like when I can. And so this is really making me want to get my life back in a better place, so that I can be able to, like, I will be able to visit when I can. And when you guys say I can. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just love that so much, because not only is this baby like helping everybody and making everybody change, because obviously we had to change our lives everybody I know is like changing their lives. Like my parents are not my excuse me, not my parents, more so my mom. My dad is like, baby, this baby is not going to be ours, and this baby I know is not going to be over here 24/7. I'm like, she sure as heck isn't, but my mom thinks she is. But my mom is just buying everything under the sun. But anyway, I just love the fact that, she's one, changing everybody's life for the better, and two, bringing us together. Like just being able to talk to his sister without him in the room, or feeling like, oh my goodness, like I hope I don't say anything wrong to make her flip out or anything like that, or I hope, she likes me. It just feels really good. And so for us to survive the whole in-law thing with with the whole theatrics and stuff like that, I just feel like it puts us in a better place, and I don't have as much tension or anxiety when it comes to hearing them on the phone. So I just love that. And I really feel like you have to gauge your situation with your in-laws and figure out if this is a relationship that is willing to be mended. Because I feel like a lot of boy moms, if you're the girlfriend or the wife in the situation, they are hell bent on, I don't know. Sometimes the boy moms can be weird, and y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. I know y'all have seen it online, and I know some of y'all have experienced it yourselves, but they are hell bent on being the number one woman in their son's lives. And so that can raise tension and raise some, red flags when it comes to her, like how she treats you. And then how she may exclude you because she only wants her son, or, all of the things like that. So I really feel like, one, it really comes down to who the mom is and how they treat their son. And not only that, but, sometimes with the girls and their dads, or the girls and their moms, they could be entitled as well. But I feel like every parent is just being overprotective of their child and not realizing when they're overstepping boundaries. But I feel like if that in-law or those in-laws can see, like, if they were in the wrong, because I'm not gonna sit up here and say y'all ain't in the wrong for disrespecting y'all in-laws, because if you truly did disrespect your in-laws and all of your problems and trials and tribulations are based off you disrespecting your in-laws and you haven't apologized, you need to build up the confidence and courage to go and apologize for exactly what you did. Because if you are sitting up here and saying, oh well, I'm not ever going to survive my in-laws because they just don't respect me, did you disrespect them anyway? Did you earn their respect? Because I feel like respect is earned and not given. And so I know a lot of people say that, but to me, truly, is based off mannerism and how you perceive yourself, or how you present yourself and uphold yourself, and how you talk to their child. I feel like if they know all of the disrespect, or if you outright disrespect them 100% of the time, of course they're not going to respect you, and of course you're not going to survive the in-laws. So honestly, it just comes down to everybody involved. Are we all mature enough? If we are not, that's perfectly fine. Let's figure out how we're going to maneuver around that. Okay, because at the end of the day, I didn't have to accept their apology. At the end of the day, what if they didn't apologize? Would I still be able to have conversations with them had they not apologized and moved on like everything was okay? I don't know, because I'm not in that situation. But if you are the reason that there is no relationship between you and the in-laws, are you willing to apologize if you know you were in the wrong? If you don't think you were in the wrong, have a sit down with your partner. Figure out if what I don't want to say what side they're taking, because I always feel like there should be no sides when it comes to trying to figure out what happened and how to move forward. I feel like the main point should be what happened, how could we all have handled the situation differently, and can we come to some sort of middle ground, whether that's both of us apologizing, whether that's one side explaining themselves and maybe apologizing, or whether that's you apologizing for what you did wrong. But even if you can apologize for your side and they don't apologize for theirs, are you willing to move forward? That is going to be the biggest question, because I feel like a lot of people may think that they can move forward, but because of that tension, you truly may not be able to if you are family oriented. I feel like if you're family oriented, it just puts more of an emphasis on that family bond, that family connection, whether that's with in-laws or on both sides or not. So I just feel like you have to really understand what matters to you and what you hold dear. because this situation could have gone completely left. And I'm glad that it didn't. And I'm glad we kind of nipped it in the bud early, and that I have a relationship with both of them. More so the sister, because, I don't want to say we're closer in age, but we talk a little bit more. And the mom, I would always just have respect and, not kind of go across any boundaries. I really don't know what I would talk about, because I don't talk about my relationship with anybody, but, trying my best to do whatever I can to make her feel included as well as wanted. And I'm not going to say needed, because I don't want anybody to feel needed. When I feel like you feel needed, you feel like you have to do something or you're obligated to do something. I want everybody to be wanted and feel like we want them around. I don't want anybody to feel excluded, especially his family, because you guys are already so far. So I love them so much. I'm glad that we were able to get across the hump, and I was able to survive the in-laws. I hope that's the only, kind of headbutting we have, but you never know. There may be some parenting advice that we may not take or implement and things like that. So, I think that's the same with my family. My family is going to give unsolicited advice. That's why one of the rules on my visitation list is we are new parents and we are not going to know everything, but please do not give unsolicited advice unless we ask for your advice. So, there's just some things and kinks and everything that everybody's going to have to work out, but are you willing to continue to move forward if some shit hits the fan at one point? I don't know. You really have to you really have to analyze your own situation, because I don't feel like as many stories as I've heard with in-laws is as, I don't want to say low key or as simple as the one that I went through. But it could be more trivial, and there may be layers to it. I know, my husband and his mom have had their outs about certain things and how he grew up and this, that, and the third. And I feel like they finally reached a point where both sides was able to listen and not just be, this is what happened to me. Now, I don't want to say anybody is being a victim, but this is what happened to me, instead of trying to understand the other side. So I feel like once both of them were in that headspace of trying to understand the other side, that is when their relationship got better. And so that, I feel like that just kind of catapulted into everything just getting, a little bit better. His relationship with his people, and me always wanting to encourage him to be in a better spot with them. But you can only do so much, okay? You can only do so much when it comes to you and another party. You can be in the best state that you can be in and ready to talk and ready to, mend things. But is that other party ready? Are you going to be able to move forward if that party is not ready to hear what you have to say? And that's exactly what I told him. And so I'm glad that they were able to squash everything and, kind of mend their broken relationship. And so, we're all just learning things as we go. And especially since we're young, we may be slower at learning things, or, we may be more prone to doing things differently than our predecessors did. So it's just up to us to kind of, navigate through some of those things, especially when it's tough times, navigate and hope that the other side wants to navigate through things with us to make a better relationship. So yeah, that's my surviving the in-laws story, and showing forgiveness and showing compassion, and still keeping everything cutesy instead of letting things hit the fan. Because I feel like once somebody feels disrespected, they feel like they have to go off the walls as well, and that's just not something or somebody that I am when it comes to in-laws or somebody's elder figures. I always feel like you should respect the elder, but at the end of the day, don't take disrespect either. That's why I said I'm just going to leave it here. I'm sorry that you felt any way about what I said. So, handling yourself with compassion and composure during certain situations can help you in the long run. So yeah, I hope you guys are able to mend your relationships with your in-laws, whether that's you apologizing or forgiving them without them apologizing whatsoever. But just try to be a little bit nice. Hold your head high. Try to have the conversations, or try to introduce having the conversation, and if they don't feel up to it or if they don't feel comfortable with it, perfectly fine. But like I said, I don't think your spouse should take sides of who's right and who's wrong. I just think it should be a what can we learn, like what happened as a whole, how did each side feel, and how can we move forward past this. But depending on your situation, depending on how ugly it gets, there may not be any mending. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of talks and a lot of conversations with you and your spouse to make sure that this is not something that's going to break you guys. Because I can say all day, well, if your family doesn't like me, we can still move forward and this, down, a third. And then you're so family oriented that it does bother you, and it is something that kind of like puts a dent in our relationship. And so is there something that I need to do to try and fix it? But I don't want to seem like I'm kissing feet, because I'm never going to do that. But if I was truly disrespected and you don't want to make your family apologize, is this something that you're going to move forward? Because I'm not going to, accept the disrespect and continue to accept disrespect if they continue to do so, and vice versa. Don't be disrespecting his or her family, and don't be continuing to disrespect his or her family just because you don't get your way, or they don't see things from your side, or this, that, and the third. Okay, or because y'all had one ugly interaction. Move forward. Try to see a way forward, whether that's with their apology, whether that's without their apology, whether that's with forgiveness for yourself, whether that's not forgiving a damn thing. Okay. Figure out what works best for your relationship, because that's what should power, okay, how you guys move forward. Is what is the best, what's the best alternative? What is the best way to rectify this so me and you are good? Do you see me at fault for anything? If you do, why? Let's talk about it and see if there's a way that we can move forward. Okay. Are you going to understand things from my point, or are you just going to take your family side? Okay. Your mom's side, your dad's side, this, down, a third. So yeah, guys, that's my surviving the in-law story. And I just wanted to share it in case, this sparked any ideas of other people wanting to mend the relationship with their in-laws, regardless, or depending on, not regardless, but depending on the severity of you all's circumstance. All right. So I love you all. I hope you all gain the confidence to move forward and squash any beef that may be holding you back from the next step in your relationship. And if so, I love that for you all. And if not, figure out how to way to move forward, or if this is going to be the end for y'all, stop wasting people's time. So I love you guys, and I will see you in next week's episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Pretty Confident Podcast. Remember, confidence isn't about perfection. It's about embracing who you truly are. So until next time, stay bold, stay authentic, and stay pretty confident. Peace out.